How you guys doing out there? My name is Kyle, and today I'm going to be reviewing Patriots Day, which is the third collaboration biopic between Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg. This biopic illustrates the disastrous events surrounding the Boston Marathon bombing in 2013 and the efforts of the Boston Police Department as well as the FBI to find the people responsible. I was actually on vacation when the real Boston Marathon bombing happened back in 2013. We were coming back to our apartment from a really cool day at the beach. We turn on the TV and all of a sudden we see that there was this explosion that happened in Boston during the marathon that day. And I just remember it took the wind out of all of us. We were absolutely speechless about it. Flash forward to 3 years later, they have a trailer coming out for the movie Patriots Day, which depicts the events that happened just 4 years ago. I remember liking the trailer, but I also discovered that it had a lot of controversy to it, and this is a very controversial film. Not everyone is going to love this movie, and there are a ton of people who are conspiracy theorists and believe that it was all faked, and personally I don't believe any of that crap. Now this movie is a biopic, and I tend to look at biopics very differently from any other genre of films. And I asked myself a few questions such as, is this movie in any way necessary? Does the film contain a story that is worth telling? Was there a performance by a particular actor or actress that made me feel like they were this character in this particular scene? And all three questions were answered because I loved this movie. I think Patriots Day is the best biopic I've seen since Spotlight. It is that good. I was absolutely invested from minute one, particularly the fact that this movie has an incredible cast. So let's talk about those people first. I like Mark Wahlberg as an actor. There are a few performances where I was just wondering, what is he doing? But for the most part, I think that he is a very talented actor. But more importantly, he is a Boston native. And that is an example of perfect casting. Wahlberg was excellent in this movie. I feel like this is one of those roles that was made specifically for him and no one else could play it. And despite the fact that he was a fictional character, the filmmakers did whatever they possibly could to humanize his character in the first scene. This is not really a spoiler, but there is an opening scene that's detached from the actual marathon stuff. And I really felt like it was a good scene because it humanized his character to the point where you could absolutely relate to him. Now you could call it stereotypical, but what I also think the opening scene did so well was it set up the world of Boston. It set up what the people do, what they say, and how they say it, and specifically just how powerful it is, as well as their really interesting Boston accents. John Goodman, one of my favorite actors of all time, is in this movie. I love John Goodman. I think his performance in 10 Cloverfield Lane was absolutely mesmerizing. And here, I think he also does a really good job. He was absolutely believable as Commissioner Ed Davis. He really looked like him. I love J.K. Simmons ever since Spider-Man playing J. Jonah Jameson and of course Whiplash. But what I really liked was that he ended up convincing me that he had a Boston accent. Because in the very first scene, when he started speaking like he was from Boston, I didn't think it was perfect. I was wondering, is this going to be okay or is this going to be really good? But he really surprised me in the end. I think the actor who surprised me the most was actually Kevin Bacon. I haven't seen him in a movie in a long time, but this is easily one of my favorite performances of his. He got to do a lot of stuff, and I'm glad I'm not the kind of person who has to sit here and say, Kevin Bacon was good, but he could have done so much more, because he does have a substantial role as the head of the FBI. Michelle Monaghan is also in this movie, and I love Michelle Monaghan. She's one of my favorite actresses of all time. But I was kind of disappointed that her role was kind of short. That's one of my few flaws I have with Patriots Day. Now let's shift gears and talk about the actual explosion scene. The build-up to it was phenomenal. There was so much tension, despite the fact that you knew exactly what was going to happen. You felt it. And when the explosion happened, it was so loud in the theater, but it was so impactful. And the aftermath scene was so brutal, I actually turned my head away. And that's something I rarely do in a movie. It is an absolute rarity. The shots are very quick, but it's not the kind of shaky cam shots that annoy you. It's really more handheld cam, but it's the kind of shots that feel necessary to create a very chaotic, just delusional, you could say, feeling towards it. It was absolutely effective in every way because you felt like you were really on the ground level as Mark Wahlberg's character, scrambling to find people, trying to make sure they're okay, and it worked so well. I really was amazed with just how well they recreated that entire scene. I think this movie was very necessary, and I'm relating it back to the questions I asked before. This movie felt very necessary because it told a very powerful story about a city who who would do any and everything they could in order to catch someone responsible for a very violent act. And I feel that the movie absolutely earned that in every regard. The hashtag Boston Strong makes absolute sense when you watch the film. It really was powerful, and I feel like the story absolutely needed to be told. My only issue with the movie is that I feel like the first 20 minutes are a bit slow before the actual event happens, because we have to rapidly set up all these characters and try to give them development, and it was a little bit slow. I felt like it could have been a little bit faster. But once we got to the event, throughout the whole movie, I was absolutely glued to the screen, except for the times where I actually had to turn my head. I thought the cast was great. The explosion sequence, as I said, was phenomenal. This was a very, very brutal, disturbing, realistic film. They never really tried to over-dramatize it for theater purposes, and I really loved it. So guys, I'm going to give Patriots Day an A. So in the end, guys, what did you think about Patriots Day? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Are you somewhere in the middle? I'd love to hear all your comments, so send them in the comment section below. And guys, thank you so much as always for watching my reviews. As always, I'll be back talking about the films Hidden Figures and Hacksaw Ridge before making my best films of 2016 list. I'm excited to talk to you guys about those films as well as the list coming up. Thank you so much as always for watching, and stay tuned.